Some semi-trucks make history, and others make drivers swear they'll never step inside one again. Today, we're counting down the 13 most hated semi-trucks in U.S. history, the breakdown-prone disasters, the rattle traps, the engineering mistakes, and the engines that turned grown mechanics into philosophers. 1. International ProStar Max Force Era. If there's one truck that united every driver, mechanic, and fleet manager in pure hatred, it's the International ProStar with a Max Force engine. The cab was fine. The looks were fine. But the engine? That thing was spiritual warfare on wheels. International tried the infamous EGR only, no DEF strategy, which sounded bold in the boardroom and sounded like a dying coffee machine on the highway. EGR coolers failed. Sensors ghosted you. Regans acted like they were on a personal vendetta. And breakdowns? Oh, those were scheduled more often than oil changes. Fleets lost millions. Drivers practically lived at service bays. Lawsuits piled up. Even perfectly good ProStars got dragged down by reputation alone, like being the sibling of someone who burned down the school kitchen. To this day, if you whisper Max Force in a truck stop, 3 mechanics will appear behind you like angry Pokemon. 2. International Lonestar Max Force Era. The Lonestar is the perfect example of a truck that looked like a superstar and performed like a soap opera. Big chrome, retro styling, presence for days. It should have been the king of the interstate, except it was saddled with the same cursed Max Force engines. Imagine ordering a luxury steak and being served instant noodles. That's what Lonestar owners felt. You bought the shiny flagship, then spent your life inside dealerships arguing about EGR coolers, sensors, D-rates, and why your engine sounds like it's trying to breathe through a straw. Drivers wanted to love it, fleets wanted to run it, but downtime was so brutal that many owners dumped these things early, converted them to Cummins, or swore off International forever. The Lonestar proved one thing: even the best-looking truck can become one of the most hated if the engine is a Max Force. 3. International 9900 I/Transtar Max Force 13. The 9900, I should have been a legend. Long nose, old school stance, pure classic Americana. Instead, it became another victim of the Max Force 13 disaster era. The cab was good, the chassis was tough, the engine turned everything into a financial horror movie. Drivers reported constant EGR breakdowns, endless check engine lights, in regions that were more dramatic than a reality TV finale. Fleets hated the downtime so much they started fire selling these trucks or repowering them with Cummins like they were performing mechanical exorcisms. Resale value? Straight to the floor. You could buy one cheap, but the repairs would remind you why. Many owners describe this truck as beautiful to look at, emotionally damaging to own. In hindsight, the 9900i didn't deserve the hate, the Max Force did. But history doesn't care. It stamped this truck onto the avoid at all costs list forever. 4. Freightliner Columbia, early 2000s fleet spec. If the International Max Force trucks were hated for blowing up, the Freightliner Columbia was hated for something more. Spiritual. Drivers say it was the truck that made them rethink their entire career. The Columbia wasn't bad mechanically, it was just cheap. Spectacularly, unapologetically cheap. Step inside and you were greeted by plastic panels that rattled like a toolbox in a tornado. Dash pieces buzzed, doors whistled. The cab shook so much that drivers swear it added 10,000 imaginary miles to their bones. And the fleet spec versions? Those were the ones where comfort went to die. Noisy cabs, stiff rides, flimsy interiors, and that special feeling of, I only got this assignment because the boss hates me. The Columbia didn't explode like a Max Force truck. It just slowly defeated your will to live. 5. Freightliner Cascadia, first gen. The Cascadia is America's most common truck, and ironically, one of the most complained about. To fleets, it's perfect. Cheap to run, decent MPG, simple parts. To drivers, it's a rolling rattle trap. Early Cascadias had dashboards that buzzed like phone vibrations, cabinets that squeaked every 5 seconds, and interior trim that aged faster than bread in summer humidity. Hit one pothole and the whole truck played a percussion solo. Drivers hated the wind noise, the insulation, or lack of it, and the feeling that everything was made out of recycled lunch trays. Even brand new ones sometimes felt pre-worn. To be fair, they're reliable, they're efficient. But if you gave truckers a vote on trucks I pray I don't get assigned, the first-gen Cascadia would still finish high on the list. 6. Peterbilt 387. The Peterbilt 387 is the truck that taught everyone a painful lesson. Aero isn't always beautiful, or ergonomic, or even remotely liked. This thing looked like a melted sneaker, and drivers never let it forget it. The cab was cramped, the layout was awkward, and visibility had you leaning forward like you were trying to squint at a restaurant bill. Even loyal Peterbilt fans whispered, "Yeah, that one wasn't our best." Mechanics complained too. Electrical issues, vibration problems, odd access points. And resale? Let's just say the 387 depreciated like a rock falling off a cliff. Not catastrophic, not explosive, not max force level cursed, just a widely disliked. A rare miss from a brand that usually delivers fan favorites. 7. Kenworth T2000. The Kenworth T2000 was supposed to be KW's futuristic aerodynamic masterpiece. Instead, it became the truck equivalent of a sci-fi movie that everyone hates but still somehow watches. Drivers didn't just dislike it, some genuinely despised it. The biggest complaints? Drafty cab seals, rattles that made every road feel like gravel, and a driving position that felt slightly off. Doors didn't seal right, interiors shook, and in winter, the cab had more cold air leaks than a broken refrigerator. Mechanics weren't fans either. The T2000's layout made certain repairs awkward, cramped, or just plain annoying. On forums, techs still describe it as a badly designed mess and a truck built by someone who never held a wrench. It wasn't a terrible performer, but everything around the performance made drivers roll their eyes, a rare misstep from a brand known for rock-solid classics. 8. Sterling A-Line/L-Line. The Sterling A-Line is the definition of a truck that people love to hate. Technically, it was just the old Ford Sterling continuation after Daimler took over, but the build quality instantly told drivers this was the budget brand. Inside, the cab felt cheap. Rattles, standard, electrical gremlins, included at no extra charge. And once the Sterling brand was killed off in 2009, parts availability became a treasure hunt. Fleets complained about downtime, mechanics complained about wiring, drivers complained about everything. The A-Line wasn't dangerous, it wasn't powerful, it wasn't iconic, it was just endlessly frustrating, a truck that made you say, "Why do I keep seeing new problems every week?" Some trucks gain a cult following. The A-Line gained memes. 9. Sterling Acterra as a semi-tractor. The Acterra was never meant to be a true semi. It was a medium-duty truck that fleets kept trying to push into regional tractor service, and the truck was like, "Please stop." Because under the skin, it used the Freightliner business class platform, famous for its Frankenstein wiring, awkward electrical routing, and dashboards that love popping warning lights for fun. When Acterras were stretched into semi-tractor roles, these problems went from annoying to infuriating. Drivers hated the cramped feel, the lack of power, and the way the cab aged like milk. Mechanics especially loathed the wiring harnesses, which seemed designed to test their patience and sanity. It didn't explode like a max force, but it definitely made people angry enough to land on this most hated list with ease. 10. Mack CHN/CX, ASET engine era. The Mack CHN/CX itself wasn't hated. The ASETAC/AI engines inside them were. Mack's mid-2000s attempt at staying emissions compliant created some of the most unpredictable mood-swing engines ever put on a frame. Drivers described these trucks as running perfectly 1 minute, then losing power like someone unplugged the entire drivetrain. Turbo vane issues, boost dropouts, misfires, black smoke, and random derates. It was like the engine woke up each day and spun a wheel labeled, "How shall I disappoint you today?" Mechanics developed PTSD from diagnosing ASET faults. Every fix uncovered another fix. Every code triggered another code. And every driver who got assigned an ASET Mack suddenly became very interested in vacation scheduling. The truck wasn't bad. The engine simply made the whole experience feel like owning a cursed antique. 11. Volvo VN, early D11/D13, EPA 2007 era. Volvo builds some of the most comfortable, safest trucks in America. But their first EPA 2007 emissions engines were a plot twist nobody wanted. The early EGR plus DPF D11/D13 combo became legendary for one thing: constant soot drama. Drivers reported endless regens, plugged DPFS, EGR cooler failures, cranky sensors, and check engine lights that lit up like a Christmas parade. Fleets loved the ride comfort, but hated the downtime, which often lasted longer than the actual haul. Mechanics said working on the early emissions Volvos was good training for hell. Every fix was layered under another fix, buried under another sensor, hidden behind a mystery bracket. To be clear, modern Volvos are beloved. These ones? They made drivers question every career decision that led them to that truck. 12. Kenworth and Peterbilt, first-gen Paccar MX13. The T660, T680, 386, and 579 are good trucks, but pair them with the first-generation Paccar MX13, and suddenly they're on every never again list. The engines just weren't ready for prime time. Injectors failed like they were part of a subscription service. After-treatment faults piled up faster than CAT scale tickets, and random D-rates turned long-haul trips into roadside meditation sessions. Lawsuits even accused PACCAR of knowingly selling engines with emission systems doomed to fail. Drivers didn't hate the trucks, they hated living at the dealership. Fleets saw maintenance costs skyrocket, and mechanics? They started referring to the early MX13s as career character development. Later MX13 engines redeemed the name, but the early ones left a mark deep enough to secure their place on this list forever. 13. CAT CT660/CT680, Navistar-based CT11/CT13. Caterpillar entering the on-highway truck market sounded exciting until people realized the CT660 and CT680 were basically Navistar trucks wearing CAT cosplay. Under the hood sat the CT11/CT13 engines, which were, you guessed it, max force derivatives. And that meant trouble arrived before the trucks did. Drivers expected Caterpillar toughness. What they got were emission systems that sulked, sensors that vanished emotionally, and engines that acted like they missed DEF even though they weren't designed for it. Many owners describe the experience as buying a CAT truck and getting a max force personality. Ouch. Sales were slow, reliability complaints stacked up, and by 2016, CAT quietly walked backwards out of the room and shut down production entirely. Fleets avoided buying them used because part support and long-term engine confidence both evaporated. Today, the CT660/CT680 sits in a strange place. Rare, interesting, and cool looking, but also one of the most regretted purchases in modern trucking history. And that's the full list. The trucks drivers avoided, fleets regretted, and mechanics still have nightmares about. If you've ever driven one of these, drop your story in the comments. The worse it was, the better. Hit like, subscribe, and get ready. More brutally honest trucking breakdowns are coming your way. You won't want to miss the next one.